Welcome to your Monday, March 10th Power Hour meeting with Katelyn, Carly, and Clare Fulton. How has the week been? It's a little quieter today because I know it's March break. Maybe more people are online. I think you said there's around 20 or so online probably. So that's good. But how was the week? What's the energy? Anyone run any open houses? No? Anyone online? No? I didn't really hear a lot of open houses actually on my end.
It might be slower this week, I guess, with March break. People might be listing next week.
Yeah, I think strategy-wise, everyone's going to list on the 18th, probably right after March break. So I know we've got a couple coming out then, too. Were showings a little bit quieter then, too? Is everybody getting ready for March break? I think so.
We're at 21,000 active.
Yeah, I know inventory is climbing up for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll go through the stats.
Did you see much, Nelson, last week with appointments or offers, or?
It was okay.
Still a little quiet, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Ramadan too, right? So
there's lots of stuff going on right now. There's lots of excuses. If you want an excuse for the market being slow, you got all kinds of them.
Yeah, you got take your pick.
Just take your pick.
Politics, right? The economy. Yeah.
Everybody got what they wanted, with Trudeau. Want to talk politics?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Is anybody? The Liberals were dead with Trudeau, right? And nobody liked Trudeau. And all of a sudden, now Trudeau's gone. This other guy's in, and now all of a sudden they're almost equal, like the Conservatives and the Liberals. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people are Liberals by heart, die hard, never ever they'll be a Liberal no matter what. And then everybody's telling them they shouldn't go vote Liberal. Now they got a reason to stay with Liberal. So I'm kind of curious to see how things turn out.
Yeah.
Polyev might be painted a little bit with the same brush as our friends down in the States there too, and that might hurt him as well. If anybody think that the two are aligning, that's not going to help him either, right? No. So, but at least that's gone. Just to put things in perspective, everybody here, I can't remember. Well, no, there's a guy named John Turner. How many guys are old? Who remembers John Turner as a prime minister? Yeah. He was the last prime minister that the party elected to be the prime minister without being elected. So you understand what I'm saying here? So this new guy here, what's his name again? Carney. He's not elected, but he's the prime minister of Canada. So Trump's going to have a heyday with that. What kind of country is this? They got a prime minister who's not even elected. What kind of democracy is that? So I'm thinking that he's going to have to call election fast to get rid of that. So I wouldn't be surprised to call election within next week or so, and I wouldn't be surprised to have election by the end of April.
You did predict the last local one, so
right. Yep. So because we can't have indecision right now. There's too much indecision in the market itself.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people are on the fence because of that. Has anybody got that? Anybody have buyers saying they want to wait for something to settle down? Anything going on with that business? Or are they telling you I'm waiting for the interest rates to come down?
I think they're waiting for
interest rate.
Yes.
Because the Bank of Canada threw that out as well, saying that if we're going to have trouble with the economy and trouble with the tariffs, the only tool we have to fight it is interest rates. So interest rates drop. Who wants it? Who wants a 2021, 2022 all over again?
No.
The sellers do.
I think they're all. The
sellers want that.
But most realtors are a little burnt out.
All right, so think about what we just said here. So now you've got clients, both buyers and sellers, and they tell you they want to wait. So what are you going to reply with? What are you going to say in return?
Buy now, do very well.
It's always buy now, right? So it's always buy now. But okay, you're a seller. So what advice are you going to give them based on what I just said, based on the economy, based on what Mr. Seller says? I want to wait for whatever he says. What are you going to reply with?
Sell now because you have low inventory.
So we're talking about sellers, right?
Yeah, we've same similar comments. We've been telling sellers to list now because we only know what we know now, and we don't know what the future is going to hold. But with a caveat that the risk is that it could get to 2021, interest rates could go down, it could go crazy. So that's a decision you have to make. So we're laying it out, but we're still saying list now.
Okay. All right.
I also feel like a lot of the realists are people from last year who couldn't sell. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we have clients like that too. We don't want to wait anymore. We've been waiting for a year. Now is the time.
So there's 21,450 active listings right now. And Sandy's saying here, I wonder how many of these listings came back to the market that were on the market in the fall and didn't sell and came back this spring.
Yeah.
I'd have to look. I don't know. No, that's a lot of work to figure that one out.
Yeah, there must be some sort of AI that can scrub that. No.
Yeah, Realm AI. I'm gonna ask Realm AI.
In today's market, do you sell first or buy first? We're still dealing with Mr. Seller, right? We sell first or buy first?
If you have a freehold, buy first.
So, Mr. Seller here, if you want to move into that house that you're looking for, you want to move to that school that you're looking, whatever, and Katelyn's going to talk about what we talked about today, Ryerson, right?
Yeah, I have it to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's their motivation? Why are they moving? You got to remind them why are they moving? What are they doing there? And that's the purpose of moving on, the sellers themselves, right? How about buyers? Buyers say you want to wait for interest rates to come down. Then what? What do you say to them?
They're going to be competing with everyone else.
Ryan today was talking about figuring out what their motivation is first, right? So he was talking today about an example of they want to move their in-laws into their house because it'll make it easier for childcare and helping with the family. And then when they say, oh, I want to wait, he's like, oh, so you want to keep driving to your mother-in-law's house, dropping the kids off, waiting in traffic. Oh, like you keep wanting to, oh, you want to wait another school year for your kids to get in that school you want. So like reminding them of why they want to move in the first place. And then they'll be like, oh no, I don't really want to wait another year for that. So that, it depends on the client's motivation.
Yeah.
Most people aren't buying because of the interest rate. They're buying, like we talked about last week, for the D's, death, divorce, diapers. That's what people are mostly buying for right now.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about Ryan right now too? Or, okay?
If you've got whatever
sort of connected to a little bit here. So what he's telling everybody here, you have to find motivation. I found many times to talk to agents and I'll ask them, so why do they want to sell? Like I always ask that question. What's their motivation? Why do they want to sell? And they say, well, because they want to get a bigger place. Is that
for what?
Is that motivation?
No.
That's not motivation, right? So and he also said, find out what they're doing. I've asked a lot of people, say, what does your client do for a living? And the answer I get is, I don't know. I get that many, many times. Or where do they work? Right? If they're living in Scarborough and they're working in Brampton, I think that's a bit of a drive every day. So you're not just trying to find out, you're not being nosy, you're trying to find motivation. Why are they moving? What's the purpose of it, right?
Yes.
That's what you're trying to do. Buyers, same thing. Why are the buyers moving? Why do they want to wait? Right? If the interest rates come down, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be more buyers. So now that house that you're trying to buy, there's going to be far more buyers. I know somebody right now that's the budget's very tight. It's like less than $550,000 for a property there, and every property going on, there's multiple bids and they're losing. So if the interest rates go down, that's going to get worse.
Yep.
So if that buyer says, I want to wait for the interest rates to come down, it's going to be a worse situation for them.
The other thing we're seeing.
So these are the things you're going to talk about.
The other thing we're seeing, like I've got some sellers right now, they want to sell because their mortgage renewal is coming up. And if they don't sell and close before that renewal, then they're going to be faced with having to renew their mortgage or doing something else. So some people, you're reminding them like, hey, like your mortgage is coming up in June. You need to get that house on the market now so that you can get there before the renewal. Other people are having kids. Okay, oh, you're due in August. Okay, well, you need to buy a house by June to be moved in before that baby pops out. So there's like more personal reasons of why you can remind people why they need to start thinking now and not waiting.
On the other side, listings. Who has listings right now? Who has listings that are not selling right now? Right? So now part of as a real estate agent, you got to go back to that motivation. Like, why are we selling? What's the purpose of it? The guy says, well, I'm going to hold on to my price for, as Katelyn's saying, like, why? Right? What's the purpose of it?
Yeah.
Just put things in perspective for you. Back in 1990, I know it's another lifetime away, it doesn't really matter. A lot of guys weren't even born here, but 1990 during that particular marketplace, the listed sales ratio back then was 14 listings for one sale. In other words, for every 14 listings, one property would sell. So back in those days, if somebody got a listing, everybody would give them condolences. You know why? Because they spent all that time, all that money, all that staging, all that stuff for a property that may not sell. So then the skill then was, how do you convince your seller to sell at a price that's going to sell? And it just goes back to numbers and facts and what Ryan talked about today. Know your numbers, know your stats. If the next door neighbor sold for 1.575 and you're trying to get 1.7 and you're wondering because he sold too cheap, doesn't help you, does it? It doesn't help him either. So in your conversations, you have to be able to have the sales skill to convince them to put it for a price that's going to cause it to sell. And that's a whole different game again, right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
What do we think the rate's going to go down?
Anybody? The question was, when do you think rates will go down? It depends if we have tariffs or not.
No, but this week, isn't there next week?
On Wednesday, they're talking about a quarter point. Somebody emailed me, said a half a point on Wednesday.
Half a point, most
I don't know, because it depends whether do we have tariffs or don't have tariffs.
We won't know
We won't know until April. Yeah.
I mean, every day it changes. I mean, on Friday it was dairy, right? He's going to put 50% tariff on dairy, and then this morning I heard he's going to delay that too.
Yeah. It must be stressful waking up every day and making a world announcement that you don't know. Like.
It's so confusing. They write a letter to all the employees. They give us 5 reasons why you should keep your job, and if you don't reply, you get fired. And then 2 days later, you say, "Oh, never mind, just kidding."
Just kidding.
I can't even imagine.
It's just they can't make any decisions at all. It's ridiculous,
No.
right?
I am reading though that most banks are predicting cuts, including this week, all the way through to July, even down to 2%. So assuming though they're being conservative, assuming tariffs are going to happen, that's what they're predicting. So we won't know for sure, but.
So as a salesperson, you have to understand a little bit about economics too, about recession and inflation. Do you believe that we're coming into inflation, or do you believe we're coming into recession? That's the question. What do you think?
Recession for 3 years now.
Not really, because salaries have gone up. All right, unions are fighting to get more money, so costs are increasing, aren't they not? Doesn't it cost more to buy something at the store? Does it not cost more to rent something? So that would be inflation, would it not?
Yeah.
But then the newspapers are talking about deflation. So I don't know. So, Mr. Seller, if you're thinking about waiting to sell, there's words out there about a recession, meaning that the prices are going to drop. So if you want to think about selling, you want to get in today's prices. Mr. Buyer, you want to wait, but I've heard things are going to inflation. You heard about tariffs. Things are going to inflate.
Those 2 reels right there.
Right?
That's true.
You don't know, right? So I really don't know. And until we know that we don't know, right? But you still goes back to motivation. And you still got the 3 Ds, right? And that always happens anyways, and that moves the market too.
Yeah.
It's funny though, I was doing comparables, so like I found another house where someone else is moving. Like it seems like it's all upgraders or downsizers.
Okay,
it's
good.
not investors or
No. It's like real families,
people
like
who-
end users.
So let me get into the market then, or
Yeah.
then you can do your thing. So this agent here just gave this to me. This was telling me about what's going on in Durham. And you guys can probably tell me too. Things are selling in Durham in the 500, 600, 700, 800,000 range, and they're all going for over asking.
Yeah.
So the sellers there are on purpose, the agents are on purpose are pricing it low to generate activity.
Yes.
So if you've got a listing, that's the strategy, right? And then if you've got a current listing not selling, it's still the strategy. And then you might tell me, well, we already tried it once, it didn't work. Well, try it again. Maybe it'll work this time,
Yeah.
right? So, but just sitting there hoping and not doing anything, that the only tool you have is the price, right? Increase it, decrease it, whatever, right?
Yeah, and that's not just in Durham too. There are studies that are showing that it's all over the GTA, but 31% of listings are selling above asking, and 65 are still selling below asking, and then about 4% right at asking. But that spread between the 31 and 65 tell us that people are using different strategies to try to get something sold. So that's quite a big percentage, 31%. All of GTA are selling for over asking, and these is based on price, not the ratio percentage of over asking, but the actual dollar amount. So it's happening all over GTA, not just Durham as well. Yeah.
Cool. So as of last night, we've got 29,450 active listings. There's 11,000 are freeholds, 10,000 are condos. So it's almost 50-50, right? Sales, actually owner occupied. I thought this was really weird. I have to double check it. But anyways, owner occupied of those listings, they're about 45% are owner occupied. The rest are not. So they're either vacant or there could be some parking lots. So they represent a little percentage, but most of them are either tenanted or vacant. Condominiums are 42%, and freeholds are 38%. Seems like a high number to me. So I don't believe that number, but anyways, it's there. That's why I printed it. Daily right now, we're doing about 130 sales per day. Does anybody know what we did per day last month? 145, right? So about 130. Right now, the sales for the first 9 days of March, I don't want to shock anybody here, but the sales are down 40%. So if you've got a listing right now that's not selling, sales are down 40%. Why they're down 40%? I don't know why.
It's only March 9th. It's probably
It's only March 9th. I mean, it's people are still, I think, it has to do with what?
Ramadan, March break.
Ramadan, you can for sure, it's 10%, 10% right off the top. I know that for sure.
Yeah. March break is this week.
And March break for this week, for maybe that's why they won't open houses. And I think people just, confusion, right? Confusion
and
with the
everything
market.
else. And then I was reading snow was a big factor too. It's still impacting people in our rural areas up north, right?
Oh, that's true.
Ours
too,
is
yeah.
melting here, but snow has really impacted people because they physically can't go to the houses to go see them. So
16 degrees on Friday.
here, hopefully those other
Supposed to
areas
go
here,
up,
too.
right? Wow. Even though so it might be 40% down from last March, but it's actually up 12% from February.
Yeah.
So we're 12% ahead of the first 9 days in February. So the market is actually picking up a little bit in the current market, right? And that's good news. Leases, 17,000 active leases. There are 7,000 freehold, 10,000 condos. And the leases themselves, condo leases are up 10%.
That's good.
And overall up 7%, and the freeholds are down 1%. Is that because the condo prices are adjusting,
Yeah, I think so.
right?
I think anyone that's serious and motivated is reducing their price to get it leased out.
Right. I think
Especially if they couldn't sell their condo, then they're definitely renting it out.
Yeah. Because I
I've had a rental since October, and no showings for a long time. January, February.
is it on MLS?
This weekend we had 3 showings.
Really? Okay.
Price too high in my opinion.
Yeah. Interesting. And then last year, well, you can do last year numbers. You can do February numbers.
That's okay. You can keep going. You can keep going.
February sales. The sales themselves for February down 27%. We knew that number as well. And new listings are actually up. Active listings are up 76% from last year. So we've got lots of inventory, no sales, right? So I think it's just confusion.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you have to be careful too. I was seeing some articles that are saying that our prices are down 30%, and I think they're looking at all of Ontario, maybe as a whole, because if you look at the GTA, our prices just for detached alone are like actually up 0.2%. I know it's not a lot, but they're not down 30% like the media is reporting. So watch out for your GTA particular stats if that's where you're selling, because the media is going to report on Ontario stats, and I think it's a little bit different. Want me to keep going?
Your turn.
My turn? I didn't know we had turns. So like I said, bidding wars are back up, and there was some stats. It's this one, yeah. So general areas that you're most likely to get a deal, meaning these are not selling for a lot over asking, but Leslieville was number one. Less likely to get a deal. So you're not getting any deals in these areas at all. Leslieville, still very popular, which we know for sure because there's a lot less turnover in those areas. Westbrook, Richmond Hill, if anyone's selling up there. St. Clair West, Bridlewood, Scarborough is being overbid by about $136,000 over asking. And then West Shore Pickering, about $95,000. I think that was from our one listing that oversold $100,000 because there's only like 2 listings that sold in West Shore.
Yeah. West Shore is one of like the more affordable areas in Pickering right now, so I could see that area picking up.
Yeah, and then other areas that were most likely get a deal were areas like Oakville and some of the more luxurious areas.
Like
as well.
Eastdale, Oshawa there.
Yeah, so that's interesting. If we go back to tariffs a little bit, BMO's forecasting a 2%. To 2% by July, so that will be interesting, and all the other banks are going to be coming up with their forecasts as well. It's really hard to say. I guess we'll find out on March 12th what they do, but if we were betting a nickel, we're all saying a quarter point, or are they going to be more aggressive, you think? I guess it depends on what news we get tomorrow morning / today as well. Claire, what do you think, though, like if you had to guess?
I think they're going to take it easy, quarter point at least.
Like just kind of ease into it, just without knowing?
Yeah. No, there's too much indecision right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like I mentioned before, we've got political stuff, economic stuff, snow, interest rates, religious stuff, so there's a whole bunch of uncertainty happening right now. But I've been telling agents who are a little stressed out just to keep focused on what we're doing here day to day. We're just helping buyers and sellers sell houses, right? So not to get caught up in the noise. Be careful what you're reading online as well. There's a lot of negativity out there. I was talking to an agent last week and she was super stressed out and she was, well, I'm reading this and I'm reading this. I said, you're reading all of the wrong things. I mean, there's so much on there to read. So just be careful, especially TikTok. You've been probably watching me delete stuff out of our WhatsApp group First of all, I want to try to avoid messages that are after like midnight anymore on WhatsApp. I just don't think anyone needs a message of that kind of stuff. So I'm probably going to put some rules in that. But we just don't need to hear the noise of TikTok. We don't know who these people are and what they're reporting. They're not validated, right? So be careful with what you're watching as well. Make sure that you're listening to advice like Claire and just keeping things kind of real and genuine and very minute, like very small with what we're dealing with, right? Because there's a lot of negativity out there. But yeah, the rural areas are struggling. I was reading about Sudbury and even the Muskokas. Physically, there's still a ton of snow up there and people actually can't get in to go see these properties. So you're going to see a wave of probably relists even after the spring market, right? So it's okay for us in urban areas, but up there, they're struggling, but they do still see an opportunity with all these tariffs because of interest rates going down. It's going to put more pressure on everybody. That's going to help all of our markets as well, in general pockets.
It'll be interesting to see if the cottage market picks up this year, if it stays.
They're expecting
low.
it to, because remember we had that weird capital gains little thing and people got a little panicky for like 3 months and then they put a hold on that too, and that really didn't affect anything, right? So a lot of pent up demand for cottages as well. And then I'm also reading, even though the traditional condo market, so like our studios, our one bedrooms, those are struggling, the luxury condo market is actually not doing too bad. They're showing an example of a 3-bedroom condo at Yonge and Eglinton. So it's 3-bedroom. They've got like a kids playroom, a swanky resident lodge, a golf simulator, all the amenities. But can you guess how much a 3-bedroom condo is at Yonge and Eglinton right now?
$1 million?
This one is $3.6 million.
How big is it?
They didn't say square foot. I just know it's 3-bedroom, so you can,
It's 3,000 square foot.
At $3.6 million,
better be over 3,000.
It's pretty big.
That's the crazy part about this luxury.
It might be less than that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
2,600 probably.
Yeah, but people are.
Maintenance fee.
Yeah, right, exactly. Property taxes, maintenance fees, but people are saying, there's people that still want to be in the city. They don't want the prices of houses, but they're okay with condos, but they better be a big condo. So developers are paying attention, and you're going to see a lot of buildings, especially in Toronto. Some are converting to purpose-built rentals, which is going to help that segment, but some are actually converting to luxury bigger units. So they're actually combining units together, making bigger ones to try to attract these families that do have, bigger budgets, because there is a market for the condos. They just don't want that 500 square foot apartment. These are people that have families, they want the extra bedrooms. And even some of our clients who are downsizing, they're going from their 2-bedroom house. They don't want to go to a 1-bedroom condo. They likely want to go to a 2 or 3-bedroom condo. So that kind of need for larger condo units is going to come back, and you may see some developers trying to actually, take that into consideration. They're going to be focused more on the end users who are moving into it and less on the investor pool who wanted it for further ROI. So that's going to change up pre-construction a little bit. They didn't, no, they didn't. But yeah. So it'll be interesting for the condo world. You're talking about rentals. Even though the units are up, prices might be down. It's interesting because a lot of our international students have gone down quite a bit, right? So it's interesting on the rental side. Centennial College is even looking at consolidating their campuses. So they've got 2 campuses. One's in the sort of downtown Toronto area, one's in Scarborough, both different types of education. Like one is media and arts and the other one's more business. They're actually going to consolidate the 2, which will be interesting because you've got people in downtown Toronto who are used to that area. It's Scarborough. It's very different. It's not that accessible yet, but they have to consolidate because their numbers are down. They're forecasting 2026. It's going to be down like 50% of applications and new students. So they're consolidating, which I thought would impact our rentals more, but we're not seeing that yet in the stats. That might be a longer term type thing. But yeah, enrollment's down, and then just level of students that are in these programs are down as well overall.
Because visas have been refused.
Yeah, they've got a strategy to mitigate immigration and students.
Just go back to stats here a little bit there. I'll ask you guys a question. Even though the sales themselves last month were down 27%, how were the prices? So prices are up.
Most had the right hand signal. Most had the right hand signal.
Prices are up 1.5%.
It's about
Where?
same.
Right across the board.
In GTA though.
In Toronto.
Yes, exactly.
Toronto.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say it is that it says here, this is just the headlines from the newspapers there. It says Toronto real estate prices rise despite sales collapsing 25%. So actually prices went up.
Yeah, and then I have another article saying prices went down 30%. So you have to be really
What year
careful.
are they comparing it to? Or they might be comparing it to 2021 though.
Some are doing it
yeah.
year over year. It's like March to March, and
Yeah.
then some are doing it to other years.
Yeah, like I feel like other years,
Yes.
yes, we've talked about that, but last year, no.
Yeah. So again, you have to be careful with what you're reading, right? Because we know.
And this is the public rates too. This one here says trade war puts a bucket of cold water on the Toronto real estate market as February sales nosedive.
Ouch! Like that sounds so negative.
So,
like,
so, Mr. Seller, you want to reduce your price or not? Right?
yeah, I guess you can use it where you need to, right?
Right? So you can always find left and right. You can always find these.
Yeah,
things,
but then
right?
your seller is going to be like, oh, well, I'll just wait until April. Like that's not going to help motivate them by scaring them.
And then this one here says a cooling trend or the new reality. What do you guys think?
I think a new reality.
The landscape's changed. The buyer's now taking the time. The pricing strategy matters more today than ever. Economic uncertainty. It's whether the shift is here to stay. We don't know whether it's here to stay. They're talking about the Bank of Canada forecasting the rates. So right now the rates are current rates what 3%. The overnight rates 3%.
Yeah.
Right. So they're saying here. This is BMO says by quarter 3, they're saying 2.5. Actually, just do quarter 2. How about that?
Yeah. That would be
No, quarter 1. How about that?
That's right now.
Okay, right now. So
Yeah.
Bank of Montreal says it's going to stay at 3%. CIBC says 2.75. National Bank says 2.75. Royal Bank 2.75. Scotia and TD say stays at 3. On Q2, they've got 2.75 for Bank of Montreal. They've got CIBC 2.25. National Bank 2.5, 2.25, 3.25. So it looks like they're expecting about a quarter point this week and another quarter point the next time.
Yeah. And this was March 6th, though. So I think they're going to redo their forecast this week, depending
Probably.
on what news they get. This is going to change like every week, I think.
Because everybody's up in the air. Nobody knows what's going on. How's unemployment going? People are worried about that too, right? So,
Yeah.
so there's too many things going on, right? Uncharacteristically sluggish, that's fine. Now, okay, I have to go back in history. I'm looking at Elio here and Elio and me. It used to be that the spring market wasn't till April, May, June. And then the last 20 years, it started in January and February, moved forward. But now we're going back to the market that I'm used to, where April, May, June was your spring market. Remember that? Nothing happened in January, February, March. It wasn't until after March break that things picked up. So if we're going back to that traditional market, then that means things are going to pick up after this week. You agree, right? So it was always that, and then it moved forward, right? So that's good.
You guys were talking about CPI earlier, so Costco is raising some alarms. Now, this is more U.S. stats, but just in general, they are finding consumer spending going down quite a bit. So even though their membership fees were increased a little bit, it's not as much as they normally would year over year. They're used to, receiving tons of memberships. It was about 7%. So even though people are joining Costco, their consumer spending was about 30% down overall. So that does show you that people have affordability things and that they're sort of, overspending on what they don't need. It is coming down quite a bit. And that's just as a strict result of what's happening in the prices of everything.
Is that U.S. or Canada?
It is U.S., but, generally our consumer spending would probably match it pretty similarly.
My Costco spend went up.
The Saha families
keeping
went
the
up
stats up.
40%. So thanks, Anik, for keeping Costco stats alive. We talked a little bit last week about people that are passionate about making sure they're purchasing in Canada. Do you guys feel the same way? Like, have you changed your spending habits to look for Canadian-made products, or did you change anything? Did you keep everything the same? Sanik's nodding yes. You're paying more attention now?
Well, if I see it's made in Guatemala as opposed to the U.S.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily need to be Canadian made, but you're trying to avoid U.S. type products. People, same thing, nodding. So did you know the difference between made in Canada versus product of Canada? So there's two different labels, so make sure you understand the difference if you're passionate about it. Made in Canada means more that half the costs of making the product were incurred in Canada, and the last transformation of that product happened in Canada. So it doesn't necessarily mean that all of it means just the majority of it, but made in Canada, yeah, same thing. So a product of Canada, on the other hand, is way more strict. It means that 98% of the direct manufacturing costs occurred in Canada. So if you are passionate about it, be careful when it says made in Canada. It just means, maybe about half of it was made in Canada versus a product of Canada is about, closer to 100% Canadian. So just keep that in mind if you are passionate about that. And did Ford still keep U.S. stuff off the LCBO shelves? Or did he change his mind too? He's not going back and forth, right?
No, okay. Getting political now.
He kept it off the shelf.
He should have held off.
He should have. Stupid.
Yeah.
Has anyone gone into the LCBO? Have you? Is it like
He put
fair?
25% on electricity today. He should have held off on that. But he said it. He's standing by it. It's better than what the other guys are doing. So.
Kind of. It's kind of nice to have some certainty, right? But anyone have clients in the market for $6 million condo building? It's not a bad deal. I know it sounds like a lot, $6 million, but at 7713 Kennedy Road, so not too far from here.
It's gotta be Markham, right?
Yeah, Markham. It's being sold under power of sale. It's a 4-story, 15-unit condo residential building. It's listed for 5.9. What's interesting about it is they actually do have all of the approvals, permits, everything in place. So the buyer could potentially buy it and start building right away. They took that stuff all out. It's not bad for $6 million. But you have to do the math on, what did I say, 15 units? $6 million. But it's a sign, though, of the small, I don't know who the developer or the original purchaser was, but it does show you that if you're sort of a smaller builder, you're going to be struggling right now to build in a market like this. So even though they went through all the approval permit process, had it been a big builder, they probably would have gone ahead, like the center court people that are doing actual communities. This was a smaller builder, but not a bad plan. If you have clients for that. 7713 Kennedy Road. Yeah, Markham.
Is it on MLS?
$6 million. Yeah. It's already partially built. They have the foundation there and they have all the approvals and permits. Maybe.
It's been there for 3 years.
3 years?
They started the foundation, so it's got some construction work.
It's got some concrete
The
stuff.
foundation's bit there.
Foundations.
The foundation's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever is there
Beams are there.
is gone.
We should all pull together and do a Century 21 Percy Fulton
There we go.
condo development. Right? Maybe a new office. It's funny. Okay, do you have more political market
I got
stuff you wanna
political
talk
stuff.
about? 'Cause I haven't done
Who
the
wants political
market
stuff? I have to be very careful and do political stuff because 50% of the people here are pro-Trump, 50% are not. So I appreciate that. So I'm not gonna say who's right and who's wrong.
So who's pro-Trump even?
Trust me, there's lots of people. But they were talking about how the Americans don't have access to Canadian banks. And there's a company here called Rocket Mortgage, which was an American company. It's a huge American company in the States. They're originator for mortgages in the States. They came up to Canada a bunch of years ago and they couldn't crack our market. So now they've closed up shop and they've gone back to the States. The reason why they couldn't crack our market is because they're competing with the banks, and the banks borrow money from the Bank of Canada at the bond rates, right? So let's say RBC will I could be wrong here, but RBC will get a mortgage, and they'll where they get the money to lend the mortgage, they'll borrow it as a bond, and they'll pay the government the preferred rate, so they can then lend it to us. Follow me? Rocket Mortgage, the U.S., they're not a bank, so they couldn't borrow from the bond rate. They couldn't borrow from the government. They had to borrow from the banks, and the banks didn't give them any special rates, so there was no advantage to go to these companies. So it didn't work for them. So this is what they're saying in the States. How come they don't have access to the same supply of money that the banks do? That's where it comes from, right? So we are paying for our bank system, but I think a lot of people are proud of our bank system because it's so regulated, right? It's I don't know, it's supposed to be safe. This is just fun, okay? So he's done funny things down in the States there, and I just made a note of funny things. You guys reminded me one last week there. So what did he do? He changed the name, like stuff you never think of, right? The Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. Why not, right? Why? Because you can, right? He stopped the pennies. He stopped making the penny. That makes sense. We stopped making the penny probably 10 years ago or something, right? That makes sense. Annexation of Canada. Where did that ever come from? And then on Friday, he's talking about, forget about annexation, he just wants to change the border. You heard about that one?
Yeah.
He wants to change the border, right?
He revisit the whole thing.
He declared, he wants to revisit the whole, like he wants to take, I think he wants water. myself. I think he wants to move the border to the north of the Great Lakes. Anyways, English language is now an official language of USA, which is fine, right? Change the border, and then this is it. So I had to go to. I like the Russian. I go to Russian news, Russian time news. I go to other newspapers. I don't like listen to propaganda that CNN or the newspapers that you get here. I like other. I want to get different opinions. Anybody else do that too? Because trust me, if you watch CNN all day long, it tells you you get all this propaganda. Mm-hmm. I've gone to Fox. I don't get Fox on my television. I had to go to Fox News online, but I get a different perspective. It's different. But this one tops it all. I don't know if you can see this on camera or not. So some guy in he's a Republican congressman, Wilson. I forget where he's from though. Doesn't say. Anyways, you have the $5 bill, the $10 bills in the States, the $100 bills. He wants a $250 bill and he wants to put his face on it. This is from the Russian news.
I cannot. No. Is it true?
And then
I
I checked out this congressman, and yes, it is true. He suggested that they have a $250 bill and they want Trump's face on it, not Lincoln or anybody else, right?
Wow.
So that just shows you where what's going on here. That's just sort of. As I said, I'm not picking sides. I'm just giving the truth, right? Or the facts. Interesting.
It's true.
Do you have an account on truth? Do you have an account on truth?
An account on truth? No. What's that?
Donald Trump said.
No, I don't. No. Parking spots. Mercer Street and Richmond Street, they're going for $135,000, $130,000, $99,000 just for their parking space.
Yep.
I'd like to sell mine.
It's true. We have a listing that doesn't have parking, and we found a parking spot. It was listed for $50,000, and we're trying to tell the buyer, like, that's a good deal right now because they're selling for $130,000.
And they're like downtown, so that's...
Like, I'm like, buy it. Buy the unit conditional and getting the parking spot. We'll do it together, and then you've got parking. But still working on that one.
So I was reading this other thing here about Canadians. They're talking about Canadian by Canadian. So somebody tried to make a Canadian meal. I forget what it was. It was apparently all Canadian
Was it like
protein
maple
and
syrup
Canadian
and-
this and that. But
okay.
then they had to put salt and pepper on it. Does pepper come from Canada? Right? Does spices come from Canada?
Probably not.
So the world is so integrated now. You can't get anything that's 100% Canadian. You can't get anything that's 100% American. You can't. It just doesn't.
But at least
work.
pepper can come from somewhere else outside of North America.
So they're saying here the trade war will raise prices on new homes on both sides of the border. Now, I can see on the American side why it would increase. They're going to increase the cost of steel and they're going to increase the cost of cement and lumber and all that stuff. In Canada, they're saying here that's going to increase the cost in Canada. Why?
Because they're going to put the cost back on the consumer.
Some other skills on it, like freight.
I was listening to the radio. Some guy that builds a house, he says 90% of all the materials that he uses to build a house in Canada comes from Canada. So, like the wood comes from Canada, the ground comes from Canada, the labor comes from Canada, the only thing that doesn't come from Canada, believe it or not, is iron bars, like I-beams and stuff. And why they can't make it themselves, I don't know.
I am reading that a lot of municipalities are increasing the development cost of new homes. I don't know if that particular article is talking about that or not. But.
Interesting. Don't we want to get involved in this? Can I be political?
Yeah, of course.
I can be
You do
political
whatever
too,
you
right?
want.
You
This
should
is
be
your
Prime
show.
Minister.
Yeah.
So Remax, I told you some time ago. Remax Canada was sold to Remax in the States. So Remax in the States is controlling things. The guy that did control up in Canada was his family. It was Alexander was the son, and the father created the Canada. So he sold it. He retired. He sold it to the USA, and he actually just quit. He's no longer the CEO of Remax Canada. So what he's doing instead, he's put his name on here. He's going to be on the advisory board for a company that creates a open bidding for agents to bid on sellers' properties to sell.
Oh.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple months
So
ago.
in other words, so it's a site where somebody says, "Hey, I want to sell my house, and here's the house, and then if anyone wants to help me sell it, give me your proposals." So agents would then bid on this guy's listing. To me, it's another word for discount, right? So I'm just confused why you go from a high brand, let's say like a respected brand, into a discount model. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But who am I?
I feel like he's on T360's team as well now.
Probably is, right? So the world's changed. Everything's changed. I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole what used to be normal isn't. So
That's true.
everything is upside down, right? And I just had this last thing.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about spring cleaning because we're in March right now. So these are some reminders of things to check. So spring cleaning, kind of your business, right? So it starts off with your home and office. So if you're here in Kennedy, look around for like things that you don't need anymore. I'm looking at the desks in front of me and random garbage and just stuff. Like just throw it out. I'm gonna give the girls permission to do so. We just did a big purge at Pickering Village. Got rid of like 30 years of history of stuff we just didn't need anymore. So that feels good. It's gonna feel good to kind of purge and declutter. We'll do the same thing at Harwood next. Kennedy's not so bad, so that's okay. But even in your home office, if you're hanging on to like files that are older than 7 years or that random brochure from that coaching person you went to that you're never gonna look at again, like start purging that stuff. Get rid of it because it's gonna help clear your mind, get ready for the year. And then other kind of digital type purging you can look at. Make sure your realtor.ca profile is how you want it. Make sure it's got your cell phone number, your current email address, an updated photo. There's other tools right now that you could add a bio, a video profile to it as well. So you can do that in the member hub on your Treb. It's not my profile anymore. You don't have to email them an updated photo. You can go into Member Hub right now and update all of that. So just do a little audit on yourself and look at what your realtor.ca profile says. Same thing with your Realm profile. It's a little bit different than your realtor.ca profile. Realm is, how your clients are going to see your searches and things like that. You can actually add a picture there. You can add your cell phone number. It's also how agents will see you on Realm as well. So check your Realm profile. Make sure it's the way you want it to look. Broker Bay. Same thing, email address, cell phone, photo if you want to update your Broker Bay profile. Hub 21, so I see this a lot where, your Hub 21, it has a photo of you. So a lot of you still have a C21 logo in here, but you might want to go into Hub 21 and add your photo, especially if you're using it for your email campaigns. So again,
and on your website.
Exactly, website. So make sure, again, cell phone number, email address, make sure it's working. We had an email address last week that I have forwarded to a bunch of things, and I did a test and no one got it. So I don't, it just reminds you of all, because sometimes we create a million different email addresses and we don't remember what's connected to what. So just audit that kind of thing. Geo Warehouse. Did you know you could have your profile picture on Geo Warehouse as well? So when you do a nice report for your client or listing presentation, it can have your photo. Again, make sure your title is the way you want it to. If you're a broker and you want to update all that stuff or whatever you want your title, email, contact information
Geo
to
Warehouse,
look like.
you do it separately from MLS, right?
Yep, totally separately. It's actually in Geo Warehouse. You got to go into its own profile section of Geo Warehouse as well. So you might want to audit that, make sure that looks the way you want it to. All your social media accounts. So look at your LinkedIn, Instagram, your TikTok, all your social media stuff. Make sure that your link bio tree, if you have like a link tree or something set up, or you might want to refresh your profile picture, but just make sure everything is, again, kind of how you want it to look. Your personal domains. So if you've got a domain that's forwarding to a Century 21 website, make sure that domain is active, you're paying for it, it didn't expire. Go test it, make sure it still works as well. Your email signatures. If you converted to a new phone recently, your email signature might have got wiped out. So double check your Gmail on your mobile phone and on your desktop. They're two separate type of signatures. So again, you might want to use a Y stamp type thing, or it's just double checking everything to make sure it looks the way you want it to look, right? Your Google Maps business profile. Make sure it's got your website on it. If you're taking reviews on that kind of thing, make sure the website's correct. Make sure your cell phone number is there. You could also do an audit refresh to add some, reviews or pictures, or just kind of, freshen it up. But make sure you're paying attention to that because clients are looking online right now. And then even your WhatsApp photo. If you were not using WhatsApp for business and you had it as a personal thing and now you're using it for business, make sure your profile picture is a professional picture, not necessarily just like a random selfie, but make sure it looks nice and professional if you're starting to message clients from that platform, because WhatsApp's becoming more popular. So now's the time, before you get really busy into the spring market, just do a quick digital audit, spring cleaning of your digital platforms and your physical office space as well. It'll help you get your mind set for the new year. That's my quick advice.
Just to piggyback on that, I speak from experience just in the past. So a lot of people have a vanity URL, like clarefulton.com or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people prepared those vanity URLs like long time ago. and you're supposed to renew the URL. Depends on how long the contract was when you bought it, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years, whatever it is. So make sure you update that. I've had cases where guys have gone into their URL themselves and it doesn't go anywhere. Why? Because they never renewed it.
Yeah.
And some didn't renew it because the email that was the reminder to renew it, that was still their TrebNet address, and that TrebNet email disappeared a long time ago. If I'm going back for the old guys, right?
Yeah.
So anyways. And then we have this here, we got this RealTrack report. And I'm not sure why it's reset to 350, but it was, right? So everybody's RealTrack was reset to March. What RealTrack does, if you have listings, you can actually go on there to the RealTrack and you can do analytics on your listing. You can find out for this one here, for instance, it's a listing that gives me the online analytical reports. It says the name of the address, the price, the brief description, brief photograph, and it says how many times that people viewed it, how many people shared it, how many inquiries there were, how many call it as a favorite, and then it actually went down and says where did the properties view from. So I know where the person looked at that listing, whether it came from realtor.ca, whether it came from Zillow, Treb Matrix, Realm Online, all different things here, so I can tell what it is. And in this particular case, this agent here, the picture in the corner is blank. So that's exactly what Carly's talking about here, is that if he wanted to prepare this report for his client, it's got his name there, but his picture's blank, which tells me that if I went to realtor.ca, there's no picture there either. So simple thing like that, Carly's saying, like, go to realtor.ca, is your picture there? Make sure it is there, right? Because it's you spend all this time marketing that, so it's all there. So, yeah. And this is a good little report. If you've got a listing that's not selling, you want to show your client, look, I'm doing my job. 690 people saw your property, they'll decide that it was not for them. Right? Mm-hmm. So use this as a tool just to show what you're doing, and it's quite easy to do. Just go to your listing, RealTrack, your listings come up and you print it out, right? Mm-hmm. Very simple thing to do. But it sort of backs on what you're talking about,
yeah.
Right? So.
Just for your information, Oria changed to Humber. As you all know, I think we have a mix of blended people in this room of Humber and Oria, and they've actually now expanded to other providers as well, so not just Humber. So that contract ended, but they did keep Humber on. They also expanded, though, to Algonquin College, which is in Ottawa. They are allowing Career College Group, which has campuses in Brampton, Toronto, Scarborough, London, and Burlington. Humber they kept on board, as well as Fleming College in Peterborough. So just so you know that, new agents that are coming on board, they have those options now, not just Humber. The good thing, and I think probably why they changed, is they had a really hard time converting from REBA to Tressa. In the Humber model, we were hearing a lot of students still talking about REBA and not knowing what Tressa was, and I think that was
their exams
that's their main law. And so now all the new curriculum will include Tressa, which makes sense if you're teaching all these
They have
agents.
like disclaimers on their exams
Claire,
saying these are not
Claire's going to do the political thing. I'm just giving you the information, and then Claire will give his political stance on it.
I'm going to go political because you guys don't see what I see. I get stuff from Rico all the time. We're going to fine you for this, get sued for that, do this, we're going to go to jail for that, go to this for that. Meanwhile, they're still teaching people coming out of school. They're teaching old Reba stuff, not Teresa stuff. So it just drives me nuts. So.
Yeah, it is literally. No, it is pretty crazy. So I hope
the students are coming out getting fined because they didn't learn the real rules.
Yeah, so I think it's going to give other local communities better, education that's not just relying on one Humber, and then hopefully the new curriculum will include all of Tressa and no more Reba at all. Even though it's still our responsibility as a broker to make sure everybody knows that. But it's just for your information that they've expanded that. I don't know what the timing. I don't know if it's said summer 2025. So yeah, and then we'll pass it off to.
You want to do that one?
I could. I want to be careful with this one, so I want to think about it more. It was an email. I'll just say it's from David Greenspan, which was interesting. He's talking about ChatGPT and using AI and how the world is using it too much, and to be careful as real estate agents not to go past what our core business is, which is building relationships and using our intuition for problem solving and that sort of thing. And so it could be a competitive advantage when you're meeting with your clients to say that I still have a personal touch. I'm still going to see you in person, but I use AI in the background to help me. But there's a lot of companies like the one we just talked about, Hive, and other ones that are fully going to AI and automating everything, where bots are talking to their clients and booking the appointments, and you're making training videos with like fake, like it can get really intense. So he's just saying be aware of that and not letting AI take over your business or your career, because other companies are, but to make sure you're staying true to what real estate is. in what we do as real estate agents, because all this AI, could end up taking away commission and services and things like that too, right? And so he's also recommending, if you want to learn more about that, to book a coaching call with David Greenspan as well to go over more. But I bet you're probably going to talk about AI a little bit, and we have, so I want to be careful. I'm not saying don't use AI at all. Just don't let it run your life.
Is anybody using AI here?
I think everyone uses ChatGPT
in the right way. Yeah.
But you just use it and ask questions, right? It gives you answers.
I also read something really interesting on the weekend too, that all of this AI is causing some environmental issues, because now we're relying on it and searching for every little thing. So we do it too, like let's ask ChatGPT. Did you know that all of those servers being run, in the US, and whenever the servers are run, the more you ask questions, the more energy these servers are producing, and actually now all these big tech companies have invested in more servers, but it's actually having environmental impact on our environment for now. I mean, Google already had an impact, and now it's quadrupled with the amount of energy resources that we're using to search for things. So that was
the same thing with cryptocurrency when it first started. You had to do data mining or something, and it sucked up a lot of energy too. Right?
Yeah, so that's happening right now in the AI world too.
Sounds like a future program.
Sounds like an alpha baby problem.
We'll leave it for the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just doing some more some more training stuff. I'm not going to say 10 ways, but how agents can help buyers win more offers in a competitive spring market. So we've got some experienced agents here. A lot of you guys have been in bidding wars and stuff, but now that March is here, I've got some new agents that are probably tuning in that may not have been competing in multiple offers before. But for some of us that have been doing it, we know that competition starts to heat up in the spring market because more buyers are coming to the market. So you may find yourself in multiple offer situations. So these are just some tips on how you guys can stand out when you guys are submitting offers on your buyer's behalf. Obviously, price still wins. Price obviously is the thing that most sellers are looking for, but there is going to be some situations. We just had it on one of our listings recently where sometimes the highest price isn't always like the winning offer. So there's some other things that to keep in mind for your buyers to help them make their offer competitive. Some of these things could be having the same, like a closing date that's more ideal for the seller. So if you've got a buyer that can have some flexibility on the closing time, sometimes that can actually be a better thing than the price. Maybe they already bought a house, they need to match up that closing date with the house they purchased. Maybe they need some extra time. So if you've got some buyers that are flexible on closing, these are things to point out to the seller's agents, just saying, hey, I put this closing date on here, but they're flexible, so I can change that. That's a really selling feature for your buyers. Also having a strong deposit. So I know this sometimes goes under the radar, but we always recommend at least doing 5% deposits. Some clients will fight you and say, I don't want to do that. And then we've had clients that have submitted the exact same price as another offer, and they lost because their deposit was lower. So the reason you want to have a higher deposit for your clients is mostly because this just shows a stronger commitment from the buyers. So there's a less chance that they're going to back out of the deal if there's a higher amount of money as that deposit. So if they're just doing a $5,000 deposit when it should have been $50,000, they can walk away easier from $5,000 and $50,000. So these are all like little considerations as well. Of course, waiving conditions. This is one of those risky things that we tell them, but if you want to win the offer, sometimes getting rid of those conditions is what's going to help. So they call it a high risk, high reward. This is not for every property. So this would be more for like if you're going after newer homes or like really well maintained homes. But if you're going after like a fixer upper or a really old home, sometimes you really don't want to do that, get rid of that inspection clause. So make sure when you are telling your clients to get rid of conditions, also let them know, like, understand the downsides to this. So like you can't just tell your clients, okay, get rid of these conditions so you can win. Just be like, get rid of these conditions, but maybe have a budget just in case we find some surprises down the line.
Yeah, just remember too, like I was always have them make that decision. Just say, here are your two options. You could waive your inspection. Here are the risks, or but let them make the final decision. Don't be the one to like tell them.
Exactly, and they even said if you can't get rid of the inspection, another thing you guys could think about was have the home inspection clause, but then say we're not going to ask for any repairs or any fixes unless it exceeds $15,000, for example. So yes, we're going to do a home inspection, but I'm not going to nickel and dime you if there's like little caulking that needs to be done around the windows, or there's little minor repairs, I'm not going to come at you. It's if there's mold in the attic that's going to cost $20,000, that's when I might. So if the seller knows that there's nothing major, then that could put them a little bit more at ease. So if you do need to have that inspection, maybe you could think about just letting them know you're not there to nickel and dime them if you do find something. Because you will find something wrong with a house.
This is also where your team of experts is really good to have. Having a really good inspector on your team that can go to a showing with you or do a whole pre-inspection for you at a decent price will, help get some information beforehand.
Exactly. Other things that you could consider if you do want to stand out, Carly used to do these and these make me cringe, but sending a video, presenting your offer to them. I don't know if you have to do a video talking about it. It makes me cringe just knowing Carly used to do them.
No.
But maybe do a really nice, present the offer. So when you guys are sending your email with the offer, don't just send an email, say see attached. Have a nice layout of that summary as well. Be okay, here's my client's situation, they're first-time home buyers, here's the price. Have a summary in the email, have a really professionally written email, and lay it out there. Because sometimes when you show that, a nice cover letter summarizing it, that can just show professionalism and add a little bit more trust. If you do want to stand out a little bit more, yes, you could do a video and present the offer that way as well. Before, we used to do offers in person, so we kind of got away from that art where you could actually sit in front of the selling agent and talk about your clients, and now we're just emailing and saying, yep, see attached, with no description. Sometimes the agent won't even say, yep, my clients Sarah and Bob are first-time home buyers. There's no story. So sometimes the sellers do care who's moving into the home. So build that report, add some more professionalism with your email, have some nice little setup of what you're submitting. Another step that you guys could think about, which I've done this in the past too, is actually having the lender call the listing agent. So kind of connecting with the mortgage broker and say, hey, we're going into a bidding war. Would you mind calling the listing agent and say, hey, I'm the mortgage broker for this client. They're good to go. They're working with a really professional team. I'm their personal lender. And just add that level of certainty. So again, you just want to make the sellers feel comfortable. And sometimes if you're really competing, having that lender call them as well kind of stands out as well. Other things, we listened to Ryan Serhant today talking about how to close the transaction, and he also made some good points about knowing your opposition. So do some research before you guys submit the offer. If you guys can figure out what the seller's goal is, maybe they already bought a house, or maybe they're just selling for fun. Maybe there's a divorce going on. See if the seller will tell you. Most sellers won't, but see if you can figure out what their goal is. Start with looking up the listing information. Check out what's going on. He was mentioning, we tell you guys all the time, check the property taxes for your comparables. Check a whole bunch of different research on the property. He made a point today I've never thought to, well, sometimes you do it, knowing the seller's agent as well. And we were just talking about updating your profile and all that stuff. Sometimes you can do a nice little Google search or go on realtor.ca, looking up the listing agent. And if you see, hey, they don't have a photo up there, maybe they got no listings at all, then you can start to see if they've got a lot of experience or don't have a lot of experience. If you go to realtor.ca and look up an agent, you'll see all of their listings that they have. And he even made a good point. The agent could have a bunch of listings out in, say, Peterborough, and then he's got this one in Pickering that you're going against. So now all of a sudden you know, okay, this may not be a local agent, so you might have a little bit of an edge on this agent. Some agents will even contact us girls to find out how many deals the agent has done to see if there's some experience there. So figure out who you're talking to, if it's a more like a newer agent or a more experienced agent, and figure out what their style is. It's a little harder when you have 70,000 agents, but it was coming from Ryan Serhant, who I think New York has even more agents than we do. So
you said something else there too. It was pretty good, right? So when you guys do your CMA for your buyer, you're looking through the eyes of the buyer, right? You're using this comparable, that comparable, that comparable, and you guys ever done that? You ever done a listing presentation and the buying agent gives you all these comparables that are not even the comparable, like they're next door or last year or something like that? He's saying don't be doing that. When you do your CMA, do a CMA in the eyes of the seller. Use the seller's comps. Use what they're doing. So then you can likely, you're closer to getting the sale if your buyer understands the same comparables.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And you can ask the listing agent that, be like, hey, these are the comparables I'm using. Which ones are you using? And sometimes they'll literally list out the houses that they're, and they're ones that you didn't even consider, and that's the price they're looking for.
And that listing agent, same thing. That listing agent could grab product that sold last year or it's down the street or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is you're trying to get a sale. So if you're $100,000 apart because your comparables aren't the same as their comparables, you're not going to get a sale. Just don't waste your time.
Yeah.
So I just had to do that in the voting bill for 9 voting.
Mm-hmm.
The buyers kept trying to keep lowballing me, and I'm like, no, like these are the comparables. I'm like, show me yours.
Yeah.
And the ones they sent me weren't even in the same area, so I sent them mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a buyer's agent, you want what the sellers are looking at because, like Claire said, you're trying to get a sale done. We're trying to get your buyers the home, and if your buyers are underballing, but the sellers are up here, like you're not going to get the house for them. So we're here to help your clients get the
Particularly
home.
if you're in a multi-rep. If you're multi-rep, you got to be using the real CMA, right? You got to not
Multiple offers, you mean, not multiple.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, multiple offers, yeah.
They were also like on that point too, like turning to the data of the listing. So even just looking up things like how long the owner's been in the property, maybe they just bought it last year for X amount, and if they sell it, they're gonna lose $50,000. So like sometimes you see an overlisted property, and if you go back to the history of when they bought it, you'll see, oh, they bought in the hot market, and if they sell in today's price, they're gonna lose a lot of money. So you have to kind of understand why the seller's asking for a certain price. So some buyers may have to overpay for a property just because the sellers don't want to lose $100,000 either. So obviously that doesn't work out for your clients, but there is some sellers that genuinely cannot sell for market value because they're going to lose so much. So you have to have some sort of sensitivity to what the seller's perspective is. So when your buyers are fighting them, just let them know what the situation is. Like maybe it's a divorce, maybe they can't afford the bills anymore. So there's a little bit of human compassion on that side too. You said that one. But yeah, those are like the big ones. So putting in an offer, competing, there's a lot more to it than just looking at a few comparables, and then how to actually sweeten that deal as well, other than just price.
I would like to share something.
Yep.
Like from my experience this whole year, like until now,
Yep.
most of the offers that I negotiated with the seller agent, first I try to see who's your opponent.
Yep.
How long has he been in the business?
Yep.
So if he's longer in the business, I think most of them looking for respect from a buyer agent, because a lot of our buyer agents, when they're new to the business, they just talk whatever the way, shut them off.
Yeah.
So I don't try to build up that relationship. It helped. And secondly, you want to know the motivation of your opponent, which is the seller.
Yep.
So try to be very smartly find out what the motivation is. A lot of seller agents have told me the motivation.
Yeah.
That helped me to tell my buyer, see,
Yeah.
I know your motivation, I didn't tell them,
Yep.
but they told her your motivation. So they got confidence that you're working for them for their best interest
Exactly.
until they don't want to go up, but they
Yeah.
will definitely go up.
Yep.
So I think most of the agents feel who have been longer in the business, they want the respect from the buyer agent.
Yeah.
And as a buyer agent, when you respect the other agent a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
it sometimes works out. Because then they
Exactly.
explain. There was a point when I had to also send a seller agent the comparables. And a lot of times my buyers ask me, ask them what are they expecting. I say, I'm not going to ask them.
Yeah, that's like the
That's
biggest
like-
pet peeve question you will get as a listing agent is what are your clients' expectations?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Full price.
like
Full price.
what I'm asking, what the list price is.
Unless you price it low.
Unless you price it low, then yeah.
Yeah, and I also tell them, I say, that means I didn't do my homework.
Yeah.
I'm just telling him, I'm a new unprepared agent. You can ask me for whatever to pay.
Yeah.
So then they have confidence in you. But then sometimes I've sent an email with the comparables to this listing agent. Then he kind of knows, okay, this guy knows a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
So you can
Exactly.
fight it back.
Yeah, and we always say like leave your egos at the door. Like we're not here. Like we always talk. Where Ryan talks a lot about like closing the gap. Like we're all on the same page here. You got a seller and you got a buyer,
Yeah.
and the two agents' job is to make sure the deal gets done. And if you're both of fighting each other, like no one's clients are winning. So.
Yeah.
A lot of new agents will come in, I find, even I did it myself, where you've got this big ego or like you're trying to overcompensate for your lack of experience. So you talk a different way, but then if you get to know a lot of experienced agents, they're a lot more friendly than you think.
Yeah.
And the more experience, the more open they are actually. And the more they want to get the deal done. And then, yeah, you have to be on the same page when it comes to all that stuff.
You're going to be a salesperson too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, has anybody here been in a bit of a conflict with another agent, and the agent comes up and says, how many years have you been in the business? Has that ever come
I
up?
hate it. I've been in the business for 30 years.
How long have you been in the business, right? So
I see that all the time.
I hate it.
I'm selling real estate for 30 years.
Yep.
I know.
The new agent doesn't care.
So
now they're offended.
One of our agents has a script. when that comes up, and it has a script, and the script is, I don't know, man, I haven't been in business very long, so whatever you can teach me, I certainly appreciate it. My client really likes this house, and whatever you can do to help me, I'm all in.
Yep.
Guy's been in the business 40 years.
Yeah, he plays the opposite. He doesn't have the ego.
This selling agent.
Yeah.
All right?
Sometimes they help him do the DocuSign too.
But yeah, if you guys find that you're struggling with like negotiations and stuff, like I would suggest coming to our 12 o'clock sessions with Ryan lately. Like he's had some really good tips. We just started his Codo course today. So a lot of these points we were talking about, and we'll be playing him probably for the next couple weeks on that course. So if you're struggling with negotiations and you're one of those agents that asks us what to say, like come to the coaching at 12 because he's got some great stuff, I think. Anything else? I've got just this week's session. I know it's March break, but on Wednesday, which actually comes good timing because our group chat in WhatsApp was talking all about staging this week, on like who pays for it, how much is the staging. I think Archana had like a really great spreadsheet. She's been price comparing a lot of stagers in the area, but Rahi from Feather Staging, she's doing a session with us on Wednesday at 10:30. She's coming in person and it will be virtual as well. She's going to do a little bit of a presentation just to talk about how to do staging, like the process, the benefits of it. And then I'm even going to do a little quick session on maybe how you guys can sell it to your clients and maybe how to offer it in certain packages and stuff like that, because a lot of agents don't know who's paying for it these days. They think it's too expensive. There's lots of questions on the thing of staging and how to pay for it, especially when we don't know if the house is going to sell. So that's going to be Wednesday at 10:30 we'll do with Rahi.
In person and live.
In person and online. I assume we'll get more online because it's March break, but if you guys can come in person, she's coming all the way here, so it'll be a good session as well.
Where's she coming from?
She's coming from Newmarket, so hopefully she doesn't
Doesn't
come.
too far for her.
Not too far, but if there's only like 5 people, it's not as fun.
No,
So,
I'm talking about not coming to the office.
oh, like for where she stages?
Stage,
Yeah, she'll go all over. She will travel. She may charge a travel fee and all that, and I'm sure she'll talk all about that stuff. But she's been really good. We've used her personally, and we really like her. She's easy to work with. I think she's a good price. Some agents will tell me she's way too expensive, but then I saw Archana's spreadsheet, and she fell probably on the cheaper end.
Archana has a really good
She's got a great spreadsheet.
That was really detailed.
Yeah.
She listed all stagers, what they charge, how long it takes, what their
Yeah.
inventory is.
Yeah, she's been researching. So when we all thought, a lot of agents will tell me, oh, she's really expensive. And I saw her sheet. I'm like, oh, like she's not that expensive. She lines right up there with the others, if not a little bit cheaper. So
Yeah.
it's a good idea to have a spreadsheet, actually. I thought
really
that was really
detailed.
smart. Yeah. But yeah, she'll have different options on art packages and full stages, all that stuff. So she'll talk all about all that stuff.
A few people like really discount staging. Like it's actually not an easy job.
It's not an easy job at all.
Yeah.
You gotta
It's
shop,
not fair.
move.
What I do see
rearrange.
is a lot of stagers discounting when they're brand new and they're trying to get business and build up the portfolio, and then you really like them, and then you ask them to come like a year later, and their prices have doubled because now they're professionals. So
Yeah.
stagers deserve to be paid, properly as well.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend staging a house yourself. You want to save that time, and if you're getting paid,
Unless it brings you joy. If it brings you
Unless-
joy, no problem.
Yes,
Fair.
it brings me to
Totally. That's okay.
If
Some
it
people
brings
really
you
love. I know
joy.
Solomon's team does their own staging as well. They've got a warehouse and stuff, and they like it though.
yeah.
So,
So it just depends on that.
Yeah.
It does not bring me joy.
No.
Me either, and I'm
I used to do it when I had my first few listings. I was at HomeSense shopping, returning, moving. Oh yeah, and I was cleaning, and no, that stopped after once you realize how much work it is, you're like, I'll never do that again. I think I did it for 2 or 3 listings. I will hire always. No way.
We all did it.
I think we all try,
Did
right?
it for a year
Yeah.
or two, yeah.
You do it for a couple, then you realize how hard it really is. So when these stagers are charging $2,000, there's a reason for that.
That's true.
Is that what she charged? For 3,000?
It depends. You guys can ask her on Wednesday. Everyone always asks me her fees. I don't
That's
know.
like a 1-bedroom condo, 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
1-bedroom, 2-bedroom condo.
I'd say art packages start in the 600s where you're just doing pillows, art,
That's
that.
accessories.
and then it all depends. If you guys are bringing in furniture, if you're using the client's furniture, if your clients aren't moving furniture and they got to bring in their own movers. So the prices all really depend.
Do you need staging?
In
Yes.
this market, almost 80%,
What's that?
yes.
Do you need staging?
I think
Get
it's
to
a
the
percentage.
listing.
Yeah. I think staging's part of your portfolio as well, because when you're
But it
presenting
adds the
listings,
value
it's
to
part
the
of it.
property.
Yeah.
It looks nice, much nicer.
Yeah.
With or without.
I remember an agent years ago. He walked into he was a new agent. He learned now. He walked into a house, and the house was, beautiful, right? It was all done up, and the seller says to him, "So, what do you think about staging?" He says, "Your house is beautiful. You don't need staging. It looks great." And then he followed up later on. He lost the listing. He said, "Well, just following up here. What happened?" He says, "Well, the other person offered staging."
The opposite could happen too.
So you understand what I'm saying? So you got to listen to the client. What do you think about staging? I don't know. What do you think about staging? I think it's important. So do I. What do you think about staging? I don't think I need staging. Either do I.
Because it could work in the opposite,
so it's all
right?
it's all sales.
Yeah.
You got sales, right? You got to listen.
Yeah.
2 ears, one mouth, right?
Yeah, because you could tell that client, oh, you need to stage, your house is ugly, like
they're
you got to do it,
offended.
and then they get offended, and they're like, I don't want to stage.
Or we've had other people, the house is a mess, and you go in there, this house is a mess, you got to do this, got to do that, and then they list with somebody else. Why? Because they didn't do it for 20 years. Why are they going to do it now?
Listed first, then it's up.
Yeah.
Right? You understand what I'm saying? Shiv's right. You get the listing now, and you say, I'm going to delay it for 2 weeks for your house to get ready.
Yeah.
Right? But if you go right in there and say, well, you got to do this, got to do that, as I said, they haven't done it for 20 years. Why are they going to do it for you like in 2 days?
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to add a little bit of that. Maybe Claire will come too, but on top of her presentation, I'm going to add in a few more like scripts on what to say at your listing presentation, and then again, different packages and stuff. Because if you guys are discounting and doing it at 1%, you should not be paying for staging because you don't have enough money left over for it. So if you guys can offer packages and saying, here, choose what package you want, that should help a little bit better.
What's the name? She pay for staging.
Who?
What's the name?
Yeah, everyone has different services and
1%
packages. So.
commission?
Yeah,
She
everyone's
pay-
got their different
She
packages.
clean the house.
Yeah.
She pay for the
Yeah.
staging.
Yeah. So agents, you guys are, there's no right or wrong answer. You guys are all independent contractors. You get to choose what you pay and what you offer. If you want to keep more money in your pocket, then I think, yeah.
Ryan said, know your competition.
Yeah.
So if you've got somebody signed there, and somebody made mention of another agent here, if you've seen a sign out there and it says free staging, free painting, free moving, free this, free that, free everything, right? Doesn't mean they're doing it.
There's a little asterisk on the end of all
Right?
that
It's
stuff.
all an asterisk. I mean, it doesn't mean they're doing it. It means, okay, I'll give you your free staging if the house sells. If the house doesn't sell, you're paying for it.
Or, yeah.
So I competed.
You understand what I'm getting at? So it's not straight.
And showed them his ad. I said, this is a Toronto Star ad on my computer. I said, which one do you want to buy? I said, how about this one? This, what about? I said, do you want to buy this house? Good price, $1.9 million. It's like 8,000 square feet. He said, I'd like it. I said, but that's in a sort of a 2-hour drive because it doesn't have a location.
Oh, the Toronto Star
And
paper?
I
Okay.
said, he said, Shiv, that doesn't make sense. It's exactly, and you wanted to list with Leo.
Okay.
He told me you wanted to list with Leo.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, so know who your competition is. If you're getting interviewed, if you're going against this woman who offers 1% at staging, you might have to change your package a little bit if you want the
That's right.
listing.
So if you know that they're interviewing somebody that's a mass advertiser, a media advertiser, big spender, right? What are you going to say in reverse, right? What's your counter argument?
And he's got 62 people working for him. I have everybody's picture. And he sold 290 homes. So do the math. He said, Shiv, that's only 5 homes per person. I said, exactly. You want one of those either.
Yeah.
So know
So
your
s-
competition. And Ryan Saran was talking about that today. Research who people in the area. Okay. Cool.
Anyone have any listings you want to talk about? Any questions online? Any questions in general? No? So we'll see you Wednesday for staging. And
Wednesday
then
for
we'll
staging.
St. Patty's Day will be the next Monday, so we'll be drinking green beer, right?
Green beer.
Right? No? Have a good week. Bye.